Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday edition of Fair Territory. I'm Ken Rosenthal here with Alanna Rizzo. Alanna, good to see you. We have a lot to discuss today, of course, on the field, but we also have an off the field question.
It's going to be interesting because at the beginning of the season, Ken, we're like, wouldn't it be funny if the Tampa Bay Rays had to play the postseason games at Steinbrenner Field in Tampa? Well, where they sit right now, Ken, that is a real possibility. What more can you tell us?
It is a real possibility simply because they are playing so well. They are 29-14 since May 8th. That's the best record in the majors, slightly over the Houston Astros. They are one game out of first place, and they lead the wild card standings in the American League. So as I wrote today, you see it right there. The Rays and MLB have had preliminary talks about possible home playoff locations. The reason why this is even a question is because the Rays are playing this season, of course, in a 10,000 seat stadium, Steinbrenner Field. That is a small stadium. It is not the kind of stadium that you generally associate with postseason games. However, this is something of a one-off, right? The hurricane that ripped the roof off of Tropicana Field created this situation. And now with the Rays in such strong position competitively, MLB at least has to start thinking about what it might do. Now, the way I understand it and the way I wrote it, Alanna, is that the first two rounds, the wild card round, if that's what the Rays qualify for, and the division series, perhaps that could take place at Steinbrenner Field. But the next two rounds, the LCS and the World Series, should the Rays get there, that would be more difficult. And what happens is that Major League Baseball, as the playoffs go on, has to give tickets or make tickets available for a variety of different people, players, umpires, broadcast partners, sponsors. And in the World Series, the way I reported it was 7,500 of those tickets are kind of set aside for those various groups. 7,500 tickets set aside in a 10,000 seat stadium, that's a problem. And then you have, of course, different issues with the press box size. It seats only 29. You have television partners, which would need to maybe change some things in Steinbrenner Field to broadcast a postseason game the way it normally would. You also have postseason shares. They're tied to gate receipts, and the shares would be less if the Rays were playing at Steinbrenner Field. Now, it's all somewhat hypothetical, of course, because the Rays have not made the playoffs yet, but it is growing to be more of a realistic possibility. And then you ask, okay, if the Rays can play at Steinbrenner Field, where would they play? The obvious choice would be Miami, perhaps Atlanta if the Braves miss the playoffs. But the problem with that is you're taking away their home field advantage, something that they've earned in making the playoffs, presumably as a wild card team, the first wild card team, or a division champion. And that's something you don't want to do. So it's a sticky situation. It was always going to be problematic if the Rays made the playoffs. And again, we're getting closer, it seems, to that possibility where this becomes a real discussion.
Ken, when you were talking about all of the different implications that this could have on the Tampa Bay Rays, the one thing that stood out to me the most is the fact that let's say they play the first round there. But by the way, let's say you get to the CS or the World Series and they're going to move you. That just seems like such an unfair situation. I understand it's, act of God type of situation with the hurricane tearing up Tropicana. But if I'm the Rays, I'm very upset about that. I mean, you would imagine they'd have to pick a neutral site, and who has to be on board with it? Who has a say in this decision?
That's a great question, Alana. And it would be, in the end, Major League Baseball's decision. They have to be the ones making that call. But think about if the Rays had to play, say, an LCS in Miami. All right, you've got to get your families there and all of that. That's part of it. That's part of the equation. But from a competitive standpoint, the bigger question is, what kind of environment would it be? You're not going to have Rays fans driving across the state, not many of them anyway, to be in Miami. It would probably be a small crowd because the crowds are always small in Miami and it's not their team. And all of those kinds of things come into consideration. And yes, it would be a horrible situation for them to have to play at a neutral site when, in theory, they would have earned more at that point. Again, we're not there yet. We may never get there, but it's going to be, as you just mentioned, Alana, a challenging, difficult situation to tackle.
Yeah, considering they're 10 games over 500 and right on the heels of the New York Yankees, this is a real possibility. Ken, I guess the only better thing is that, you know what, at least we're talking about this for the Rays. I guess they would rather have this conversation than not make the postseason. All right, the Toronto Blue Jays can also trying to make that postseason. They're in the thick of it. They're in the AL East rather. Max Scherzer is back. What type of boost could that be for the Toronto Blue Jays?
A huge boost. And he was good last night. A little rusty, but 93, 94, topped out at 95. And he looked like Max Scherzer. And from reports this morning, he also came out of it well. He told the manager of the Blue Jays, John Schneider, all things are go for his next start, which would be Monday against the Yankees. This is a huge boost for Toronto because they've been kind of trying to patch that rotation spot the entire year. They've got Barrios, they've got Gausman, they've got Bassett. Now they have Scherzer, and Eric Lauer has stepped in and done a really good job. Bowden Francis has regressed. Spencer Turnbull, one of the guys they brought in, they DFA'd him. So if Max can stabilize that spot in the rotation, it would mean an awful lot to a Jays club that, like the Rays, has been something of a surprise in the American League East.
Yeah, the Guardians ended up beating the Jays in 10 innings yesterday, but it's great to have future Hall of Famer, in my opinion, Max Scherzer back on the hill for the Jays. All right, I tell you what, Ken, there are some unbelievably talented arms in the NL Central. Jacob Misiorowski, one of those arms going up for the Milwaukee Brewers. And of course, Aaron Savali requested to be traded. He ends up going to the White Sox, but Jacob Misiorowski, you can see, Ken, why the Brewers were high on him.
No question. And that matchup yesterday was one that had a lot of people excited. The biggest crowd all season in Milwaukee, which was really cool. Two small market teams, right? Nothing ever happens with small market teams. No, that was the focus of the entire sport yesterday, and it was great. Misiorowski actually outpitched Skenes. Skenes, I thought, got brewered a little bit. When I say brewered, I mean balls in play, things going on. Wasn't great defense behind him, but Misiorowski with the 12 100-mile-hour pitches in the first inning, it's just something to behold. Skenes is the more complete pitcher, but this kid's stuff is perhaps even more electric. It's a little different, but more electric. And it was just fun to watch, and it's fun to watch his enthusiasm. And Alanna, going forward, the Brewers might have some decisions to make.
Yeah, what do you mean by that? Tell me more.
They obviously have traded one starter already, Aaron Savali. They've got Brandon Woodruff coming back. They've got Nestor Cortez Jr. coming back. And the question is, would they trade another starter to perhaps get some more offense, open up another spot? There are all kinds of things that they could do. And Freddie Peralta would be the obvious one. Now, Freddie Peralta is under control for next year as well, with a very affordable club option, $8 million. Freddie Peralta also would be the guy who could perhaps bring you the most in the trade. But while that was maybe a good idea, I don't know, 10 days ago before the Brewers started playing really well, I don't know that now they would want to consider it because, hey, they're having a nice run here. They're going to be in position. They are in position, 2.5 games back in the NL Central, to make a strong run at the Cubs. And their owner, Mark Attanasio, is well aware of the hit in perception the franchise took when they traded Josh Hader at the deadline in 2022, when they also had a heck of a team and a heck of a chance to win. Now, that trade worked out okay, not for that year, but it eventually led to them getting William Contreras. But I don't know that the Brewers want to go down that road again. The question is, with a seeming surplus, and they've got pitchers in the minors as well who have contributed at the major league level, could you trade Peralta? Could you trade Jose Quintana? Might you consider some of these things just to kind of shake it up a little bit and put your team in an even better offensive position? They could use a bat on the left side of the infield, among other things. So I don't know where this is going. The Brewers are always fascinating. It's fascinating to me that they just keep competing. That's one thing. But they are one of the few teams now that seems to have, and I say seems because this surplus I'm going to talk about could disappear in a minute. But what I say is they seem to have a relative surplus of starting pitching.
Yeah, it's interesting. 10 days ago, Peralta could have very easily been on the trading block, but now, as close as they are to the Chicago Cubs, you would think that they couldn't trade Peralta with seemingly another ace emerging in Misiorowski. It'll be interesting to see. But also, before we get to our next segment, Ken, it's interesting and fun to look at the dynamic arms in the NL Central with Burns, with Skenes, with Misiorowski. This is a fun time.
I would even throw Cade Horton from the Cubs into that mix. And the Reds have a really good rotation in general that is young. And Chase Burns' debut, got overshadowed maybe by what happened yesterday, but that was a pretty impressive debut too, striking out the first 5 hitters he faced in the major leagues. So yes, Alanna, great point. A lot of fun things happening in the NL Central right now.
All right, we're going to be back with Grillin Ken. Don't forget to get your questions in for Grillin Ken, not only on YouTube here, but also on ChatBCC. But first, a moment from our friends at Foul Territory.
Kratz, real talk. I do not carry cash around me, but what I do carry around on my phone is Cash App.
Easy peasy. Like I said before, anytime Scott can pay for the tab, that is good. And it's always right there. Fast, easy, always available.
Yeah. Oh, my credit card's not working, or oh, I didn't bring cash with me. There's no more alligator arms. Do you have your phone? Most people have their phone. So use Cash App. It's secure and safe. There's no waiting around. It is a super, super easy sign-up process. You can sign up quicker than you can listen to Kratz and I talk about Cash App. For a limited time only for the FT fam, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code TERRITORY in your profile. Send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App.
All right, time now for Grillin Ken. It's a great opportunity for you to ask Ken Rosenthal some questions. And don't forget, we do have the questions here on YouTube, but let's start with questions from ChatBCC. It's a free app. Just get on there right now, guys. Go to foulterritory.chat and join the conversation. The first question comes from Armand. Hello, Armand. Great to have you back. Are the Byron Buxton trade rumors real? I've seen Mets fan talk about him for center field. And would the Twins really trade him? Now, to be fully transparent, Armand is a Mets fan. So I think he wants Buxton. Maybe not.
I'd like to know where Armand is hearing these rumors. I have not heard any of these rumors. And Twins president of baseball operations, Derek Falvey, came out this week and said right now they're not looking to sell. Now it's early, of course. We're about 5 weeks away from the deadline. Exactly 5 weeks, actually. And no one's going to concede just yet. Now, if they do sell, would they possibly move Buxton? I have a hard time believing it. He's on a great contract. Yes, he'd be appealing to any number of teams, of course. But he's Byron Buxton. He is one of the Twins' most popular player, if not the most popular. He's a guy who's having a great year. So what I would say to Mets fans out there is stop picking out players from other teams that you want on your favorite talk shows and start thinking about how you fix that rotation in other ways.
Yeah, they've been pretty bad. The Mets starters have since June 13th, Ken Rosenthal. The Mets have struggled, but I do believe that they're going to be okay. All right, another question here on ChatBCC from Lance Johnson. I appreciate this question because I too have this question, Lance. How difficult will the trade deadline be with very few sellers? Obviously, a lot of people buying because a lot of people are still in this race.
Right. Well, that's the way it looks right now. But I did speak with an executive yesterday who said to me, Alanna, you guys, meaning reporters, are going to be disappointed with this deadline because there's just not going to be that much that happens. We probably have seen the biggest trade already, the Rafael Devers trade. Now, all that said, this is a sport where the teams and the executives find it impossible to sit still. So even if we don't have a number of other sellers emerge, and I believe that we will, you're still going to see activity. You're still going to see GMs and presidents of baseball operations trying to make things happen. Whether we get big trades or not, I can't say for sure. But I always believe that things are going to happen. Maybe not to the extent of the Devers trade. That was kind of a comet. But there will be deals. Teams will be desperate to do things, desperate to improve themselves, desperate to put themselves in the best possible position for the postseason.
All right. Another question here on YouTube. We appreciate you guys being here with us. This one is involving the Atlanta Braves. Ken, if we can get that question pulled up. Hammer Terry and Atlanta Braves podcast. Ken, are our Braves underachieving or just not as good as we thought? Of course, you can catch Hammer Territory rather, here on the Foul Territory Network.
I would say both. They're underachieving and maybe they're not as good as we thought. I mean, you're talking to a guy who picked them to go to the World Series, so obviously they're not as good as I thought they were going to be. But they have not played to the level that we would have thought from the Atlanta Braves. And part of it is the offense, right? Nick Allen, great defensive shortstop, not hitting. He's not going to hit. That's not who he is. Ozzie Albies, huge disappointment at second base. And Michael Harris II, huge disappointment in center field. So they have not gotten offense from 3 up the middle positions. They've also had not great production out of left field. That's 4 spots in a 9-person lineup. That's part of it. Injuries have been part of it too. They haven't had Strider. Now they've lost Sale. They're kind of scrambling to put together their rotation. So yes, they've underachieved. And yes, they are not as good as we thought. The question is going to be, what can their president of baseball operations, Alex Anthopoulos, do about it? He is not going to be inclined to sell. He's basically already declared we're not selling anybody who has club control beyond this season. So they could maybe do some things from a selling perspective. Ozuna, if they're out of it, would be one. He's a potential free agent. But the real question is, how can they add? And what will they add? It's pretty clear they need a starting pitcher right now, and it's been pretty clear all season they need bullpen help.
Yeah, I feel like there's so many teams that could take that same sentiment. We need a starting pitcher and we need some bullpen help. All right, the next question is in regards to the Cincinnati Reds. We had a quick conversation about the NL Central. Yasiel Kokoski, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, Kosofsky. I don't know how to say it, but thanks for being part of the show. Tweet me on how to say that, by the way. You said the Reds will be more aggressive. What moves realistically do you think they could make? I like this question.
I do too. The bullpen would be one area to address, of course, but they entered the season needing one more bat. And that bat most likely would go in the outfield somewhere. I don't know who it would be necessarily, but they're well aware that they're short in that department and maybe even 2 bats short. So I could definitely see them adding offense. That would, I imagine, be their goal along with the bullpen. They've got the kind of rotation that in a postseason series would be pretty difficult to deal with. So I do expect them to be aggressive. They've invested a lot in this team. They brought in Terry Francona not to finish 3rd or 4th. They want to get back to the postseason, and they want to do it this year.
Yeah, it's the best acquisition a team could make is getting Tito back in that dugout and in the clubhouse. Okay, another question here. This one in regards to the All-Star. Bubs has a question for you, Ken. Look into the All-Star game. Who is a player that you think deserves to get in, but probably won't?
I'll give you one that came to my mind this morning. Tampa Bay Rays right-hander Drew Rasmussen. And the reason I say that is not because he isn't deserving. He is entirely deserving, and he's a great story. This guy has had 3 major elbow surgeries. But in the American League, among the starting pitchers, who do we have? We've got Hunter Brown, Max Fried, Garrett Crochet, Jacob deGrom, Tarek Skubal, all kinds of guys to choose from. And it just seems to me that maybe Rasmussen gets squeezed for that reason alone. Maybe not. I could be wrong, and I haven't gone through my potential rosters yet to see who would represent which teams. Certainly Rasmussen has had an all-star type season, but so has Joe Ryan, Framber Valdez, and all the other guys I mentioned. So it's going to be difficult to choose between the American League starting pitchers.
Well, perhaps one of those guys can't go because they're injured or some reason. Not that you want them to be injured. I'm not suggesting that, but perhaps Rasmussen. Yeah, I mean, exactly. Or they can't do it, or their wife has a trip plan that she's like, you are absolutely not going to the All-Star game. We are going on vacation. Anyway, all right. Next question for you is in regards to the New York Metropolitans. Corey Pepper, will David Stearns address all the issues? Starters, bridge to Diaz, young guys at third, a center fielder, and now a catcher.
I don't know about all of them, and I don't know that he needs to address catcher. Francisco Alvarez is going to be back. He, yes, is in AAA for a reset and a needed reset, but I don't think that is an area of need. The rotation, depending on what happens with Minaya and Montas, could be less of an area of need, but it seems to me, and I think it seems to everyone watching the Mets, that they need at least one more. And yes, the bullpen for sure. And as Will Salmon of The Athletic wrote this week, the infield has become an area of question too. Those 3 guys at third base, Brett Beatty and Vientos and Ronnie Mauricio. Well, Vientos is coming back. He's coming off the IL. Maybe he'll solidify it, but no one has done that yet. And they could use one more veteran infielder, kind of a solid type, steady presence at third base. It isn't there right now, and maybe one of those young guys will emerge by the deadline to take it. Vientos would be the leading candidate, I would think. But David Stearns, I would expect, is going to be busy at the deadline.
Yeah, it seems like there are a lot of needs there, at least according to this fan. Ken, if you had to rank the needs in terms of order of importance, how are you seeing it play out?
I always want the starter. I'm worried about Clay Holmes in his first year as a starter being as good at the end of the season as he has been so far. I worry about the regression of Grllin Ken. He pitches today against the Braves. I just wonder if Manaea is going to come back and be Sean Manaea, if Montas can sustain what he showed in his first start, which was quite promising. David Peterson, will he be able to handle a load into October? He's been great so far. So there are all these things, these nagging questions that weren't there a month ago, even 2 weeks ago. Injuries have created some of that. And I'm forgetting, of course, Kodai Senga. When will he return and what will he return as? Will he be the guy we saw early? If he is, great. But given all of those questions, and they're not bad questions, you'll get some answers out of that. But I would just want one more. And obviously the bullpen is something that they're going to have to address too.
Yeah, Kodai Senga losing him is a big blow to this Mets team. They certainly have scuffled over the course of the last 10 days. I believe they're 2-8 in their last 10 games. All right, much more to come here on Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal. First, a quick word from Foul Territory before we get to Dude and Dork of the Week.
People liked this last time, so we're going to do it again. Read one of the fantastic, unique, creative dishes on HelloFresh. Creamy Alfredo truffle cavatappi pasta?
Cavatappi, maybe? But I'll just go with the Indian-inspired chicken paired with turmeric rice. That sounds awesome. Everything about this is delicious, fresh, comes in a little bag, and I like to cook, so I like to chop up the ingredients. I like to throw stuff in the pan, mix it up. It makes me feel like I'm doing something, Scott, and they always come out amazing.
Yes, you can be a star at home with America's #1 meal kit. Make your summer enjoyable and delicious by signing up for HelloFresh at HelloFresh.com/FT10FM and get 10 free meals with a free item for life. That's HelloFresh.com/FT10FM for 10 free meals and a free item in every box. One per box with an active subscription. Free meals are applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only. Varies by plan.
BetMGM is giving you the chance to win a prize every day during the baseball season. Step into the batter's box for BetMGM's Swing for the Fences free-to-play game. Visit the BetMGM app to access the game, and you'll score a prize if you hit a single, double, triple, or home run. Strikeout? No problem. Try again tomorrow. Gambling problem or concern? There is help. Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Dude.
All right, Ken, let's give somebody your praises. Who is it this week?
Juan Soto. I believe now, Alanna, everyone can calm down. Juan Soto is still a really great player. He is not in an amazing depression over leaving the Yankees, which was what some people were saying when the Mets played the Yankees earlier. No, he's Juan freaking Soto, okay? Last night, 27th multi-homer game, breaks Jimmy Fox's record for most multi-homer games before the age of 27. He has 10 home runs in June. That's tied with Eugenio Sanchez and Cal Raleigh. He has 5 home runs in his last 5 games. His OPS is up to 899. He now ranks 12th in the majors. Hello, there's your dude of the week.
Yeah, if in the words of Taylor Swift, you need to calm down. All right, mine goes to a girl I have known for a very, very long time. Way to go, Emily. This is a young lady that has been a Colorado Rockies fan her entire life. I met her when she was probably 6 or 7 years old. Recently, the Dodgers were playing the Rockies. Shohei Ohtani hit a dinger at Coors Field. That is not the exciting part. What's exciting is Emily has been to 833 Major League Baseball games, and that is the first home run that she has ever caught. And she is now the first base woman at Adams State University. She plays softball there at Adams State in Colorado. She is number 17 after Todd Helton. She has been to so many games. She is a baseball fanatic. I'm so happy for her. I've known her entire life. She caught that home run ball number 300 for Shohei in terms of the home runs that he's hit in the U.S. and Japan. Congratulations, Emily. You are my dudette of the week. All right, time now for the John Fisher Dork of the Week. Who do you have, Ken?
All right, Alanna. I could give it to John Fisher and his cohorts who were out there in Vegas doing whatever they were doing the other day. But
where's
I'm
Trevor
going to
May's
give it,
golden shovel, by the way? Where's Trevor May's shovel? It got lost in the mail.
I'm going to go to a higher power, the league itself, Major League Baseball. And it's a different kind of Dork of the Week. And the reason I'm giving Major League Baseball the Dork of the Week is because what we saw this week, yesterday, Misiorowski versus Skenes, the debut of Chase Burns, it reinforces yet again the value of a starting pitcher, how we need as a sport to bring back the starting pitcher. Now, we had in December a report issued by Major League Baseball, a study that they commissioned that pointed out to many of us the reasons why injuries are taking place at such a high percentage. A lot of us knew what was the reason or the reasons were, but this report kind of identified it. Velocity, spin, all of these things, all the max effort. Okay, that's great. But what have we done about that since? What has the league done about that since? Where are we with this? Bringing back the starting pitcher, keeping pitchers healthy. Nothing has happened as far as I can tell. That's why MLB is Dork of the Week. We need more of what we saw this week. That's what will make the sport thrive at a level beyond even where it is now.
Yeah, just look at the attendance in Milwaukee for that unbelievable matchup. It is about the starting pitcher and the dominance of that starting pitcher. Okay, for me, it's about that idiot fan in Chicago that decided to yell at Ketel Marte, say hi to your mom. And Ketel Marte's mother unfortunately passed away in a car accident in 2017. So now this idiot, 22-year-old kid, and he's a kid, and maybe he made a mistake, but he's a 22-year-old that is now banned from every single ballpark in Major League Baseball because of his insensitive remarks. And that's just not something you don't have the right to say that type. And don't tell me for 1 second this kid didn't know what he was doing. He knew Ketel Marte's mother had passed away, and those insensitive remarks deserve him to be banned from every single Major League Baseball park for the rest of his life. And that's a long life because he's only 22. All right. For our friends now, our new friends over at Nesson, we say goodbye to you for now. Sportsnet Pittsburgh and Nesson Nation, we appreciate you guys. We'll see you soon. For the rest of you, we'll be right back. All right, guys. For those of you that are back, we appreciate it. Ken, you have Philly at Atlanta Saturday on Fox, but let's discuss another NL power. And I know AJ Pierzynski is psyched because he believes he has the better game, Ken. The Cubs. He has the Cubs and the Astros, but the Cubbies, they're looking pretty good.
They are looking good. And I wrote this week, Alanna, about how urgent their situation is relative to the deadline. With the clock ticking on Kyle Tucker in Chicago, the Cubs can't go halfway at the deadline. And actually, it's more than that. It's this year and next year. Now, this year is perhaps their only year with Tucker. He is eligible for free agency. But even more alarming, they've got four important players, I should say, who are eligible for free agency after 26. I'm talking about Seiya Suzuki, Ian Happ, Nico Horner, and Matthew Boyd, as well as Jameson Taillon. Those guys are part of a core of what they do right now. They're hugely important to the Chicago Cubs. So what you're looking at the next 2 years, even if you lose Tucker this year, you've got a good chance to win next year. But then after that, who knows where this goes? So the Cubs are going to need to be aggressive at the deadline, in my opinion. They already are canvassing the market for starting pitchers. They've shown interest in the two Miami starters, Sandy Alcantara and Edward Cabrera. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't know how this is all going to turn out. And obviously, if they sign Tucker, they've got him in PCA for the next 5 years at least, and that's the way to go. But I don't expect them to sign Kyle Tucker. So this year is urgent, next year is urgent, and we're going to see just what the Chicago Cubs do under their president of baseball operations, Jed Hoyer, and general manager Carter Hawkins in the weeks ahead.
Quickly, we only have about a minute left in the show. Ken, what is your take on PCA as the National League MVP over Shohei? Because you know Shohei is going to be in that conversation.
Of course. And PCA right now is the exact kind of player who would mount a serious threat to Shohei, an all-around player. Not only does he do it offensively, he does it defensively in center field, and he runs the bases extremely well, even though he forgot the number of outs this week out in center field. So he is a worthy challenger to Shohei. We'll see how Shohei pitches the rest of the year. That's going to be telling for this kind of race.
All right. Fair Territory with Ken Rosenthal is done for the day. Foul Territory is next guy's guest host, Whit Merrifield, who recently announced his retirement, joins AJ Pierzynski and Scott Braun. Jake Cronenworth, Dalton Varsho, and Dan O'Dowd also stop by. And then Dodgers Territory follows after the Dodgers game today. For Ken Rosenthal, I'm Alanna Rizzo. We'll see you next time. Ken has a new show for you on Monday.